you're receiving this transmission, then I'm probably already dead. My mission was simple as it could be for my line of work. It was a search and destroy objective on Ilum. My target didn't seem out of the ordinary, but something seemed off during my initial recon. They knew I was coming. Someone sold me out. I managed to fight my way to a bunker, and I don't know how much time I have left before they eventually get in. You could line a Star Destroyer with the graves I've filled over my career. I'm not proud of the things I've done, but I hold no regrets either. It just is what it is. But that's besides the point. Encrypted in this transmission is all my knowledge, the entire depth of everything I've learned as a virulence sniper. I hope this message reaches you. Over and out.
Hello there, I'm Cooosh. Well, here we are, gamers, back at it for another guide. This time, I'll be showing you the Virulence Sniper, a 35 meter damage over time spec that packs a punch. Now, I approach this guide from the perspective of a beginner, but with that being said, there could be something for someone to learn regardless of skill level. I broke this guide up into 6 chapters, so if you're looking for something specific, feel free to skip ahead. Now, without further ado, let me show you the way of the VIRU Sniper. Welcome to Chapter 1, Gear. Now, before I go over all of our fun damaging abilities, I need to talk about our stats. I will link my DPS gearing guide below to show you how to precisely hit these numbers. But a quick overview. We want 110% accuracy, and by getting there, we will need 3 gear pieces, 4 gold augs, and then our accuracy stim. That'll get us to 2704. Now, I do want a disclaimer. I'm not a theory crafter. A good rule of thumb for DPS specs is to have a 1.4 GCD alacrity. Now, there are some classes where going over that number is recommended, and Virulence is no exception. So the alacrity gear I'm running on my Virulence Sniper is 4 gear pieces, 2 gold augs, and that'll get me to 2794. We have a lot of casted abilities, and this just helps smooth out the rotation. And then our remaining gear pieces and augment slots will go to crit. We'll have 3 crit pieces and 8 gold augs. The 2 legendaries we'll want for our Virulent Sniper are Locked and Loaded package and Improved Targeting package. Improved Targeting package reduces the cooldown of laze target, viral targeting, and targeting systems by 15 seconds. The only one that will apply to us here is viral targeting, and this will count as one of our critical pieces. Our second legendary, Locked and Loaded package. Ranged and tech damage is increased by 5%. Straightforward, easy peasy. And this will count as one of our alacrity pieces. For our tactical, we will be running Exploited Weakness. Weakening Blast deals 50% more damage. Dealing damage with lethal shot causes the target to take X poison damage over 18 seconds. So basically, Exploited Weakness will give us another dot on our lethal shot. And because my alacrity is a little higher, to compensate for the critical loss, I will be using a crit relic instead of power. So my 2 relics will be the Mastery Relic and the Critical Relic. During our ability chapter, I will go into more depth with lethal shot, but because we are in the gear section, I just want to showcase our tactical. So as you can see here, I have no tactical equipped, and we will activate our lethal shot. No debuff on the target. Now with Exploited Weakness equipped, let's activate our lethal shot. Exploited Weakness, periodic internal damage. Easy peasy. Chapter 2, Abilities. In this chapter, I'll be talking about our damaging abilities, our utility abilities, our cooldowns, and maybe a couple passives here and there along the way. But first things first, I need to talk about our cover system. So when I start going over some of our abilities, you'll notice on the tooltips that some say only usable while in cover. So as a sniper, we have an ability we can activate that'll put us into cover. Now I believe by default we get Take Cover. Roll into the selected cover point. If no cover point is available, you will crouch in place. Taking cover enables the use of cover-only abilities. I think there's a way in the settings where you can go in so you won't roll the spots, but if you want my honest opinion, just click this little unlock quick slot bar and just get this off. Then what you want to do is you want to go to your abilities, type in crouch, and then bring crouch down onto your bar. And this is what you'll be hitting to get into cover. Crouch is in place, taking cover if used behind an object that provides cover. Crouching enables the use of cover-only abilities. and this will just always plop you where you hit it. While we are on the topic of cover, I need to mention something that you may notice while you're in cover. And then right here, we'll have these stacks building up to 30. This is just basically a stealth detection. So the more stacks we have here, the larger our stealth detection radius is, and I just wanted to point that out if you were like, why the hell do we have 30 stacks of this thing? Okay, now we can start talking about our damaging abilities. First one is our basic attack rifle shot. Has a 35-meter range, shoot your rifle at the target, dealing X weapon damage. And if you'll notice, this one's free, but try to not use this. Next up is lethal shot, and I'm also going to consider this our first dot because of our tactical exploited weakness. It'll cost us 15 energy and has a range of 35 meters. Shoots a target for X weapon damage and X internal poison damage. Our next dot is corrosive dart. It'll cost us 15 energy, and most of our abilities are 35 meters, so I'm not going to read that every time. Fires a dart at the target that deals X internal poison damage over 24 seconds. That'll lead us to our third and final dot, corrosive grenade. It'll cost us 10 energy. Hurls a grenade that spews poisonous acid in a 5-meter radius, dealing X internal poison damage on impact and X internal poison damage over 24 seconds to up to 8 targets. Targets damaged this way are slowed by 30% for the duration. Next up is our weakening blast. It'll cost us 5 energy and deals X weapon damage, and for the next 10 seconds causes the target to take X additional weapon damage whenever it takes damage from your poison effects. Now we're on to the Rainmaker, Call. Call fires a volley of bolts at the target, dealing X weapon damage and spending 6 energy each second. When you deal damage with Call, each of your poison effects on the target also deal damage. Kaboom. Now we have Takedown. It'll cost us 15 energy. Attempts to take the target down with a single powerful shot that deals X weapon damage. Only usable on targets at or below 30% max health. So if you'll see here, Takedown is grayed out. If you have a target selected and you try to activate your Takedown, you will see the warning message, target health too high. Now the next ability I'm going to talk about, Orbital Strike, is an ability we can get from our talent tree. At level 68, we have the choice to take Orbital Strike. Calls in support from orbiting warships, dealing X elemental damage over 9 seconds to up to 8 enemies within 8 meters of the targeted area. Additionally, standard and weak enemies are knocked down by the blasts. I will go into more detail during our cooldown section when I talk about Ballistic Shield, but I did want to highlight Orbital Strike. I see this one mainly used for parses on the dummy because you can precast this before starting combat. I personally prefer to take Ballistic Shield. Now another AoE ability I'm going to touch on is Suppressive Fire. Sprays a wave of bolts over the target area, dealing X weapon damage and spending 45 energy over the duration to up to 8 targets within 8 meters. Can only be used from cover. So as you'll see here, Suppressive Fire is grayed out. I go into cover, then we can activate our Suppressive Fire. Series of Shots. Unleashes a series of shots that deals X weapon damage and uses 20 energy over the duration. Now, a series of shots is not used in our core rotation, and I wouldn't consider it one of our core abilities. But I did want to briefly highlight series of shots because there are times where an enemy is close to death and you don't want to reapply your dots. So series of shots is a fine ability to use to finish off a target. Now, kind of in the same realm of series of shots is our Fragmentation Grenade. It'll cost us 20 energy, deals X kinetic damage to the primary target, and X kinetic damage to up to 7 standard or weak enemies within 5 meters of the primary target. If the primary target is standard or weak enemy, it is knocked to the ground. I wanted to mention it just in case so you know you have this option. Now it's time for our utility abilities, and I'm going to start us off with Adrenaline Probe. As we can see by this funky fun number, Adrenaline Probe is affected by our alacrity. Summons a droid that helps you recover 50 energy over 3 seconds. So if you guessed it, our main resource on Sniper is our energy. So here are our energy thresholds. From 110 to 60 energy, we will gain 5 energy per second. From 59 to 21 energy, we will gain 3 energy per second. From 20 to 0 energy, we will only gain 2 energy per second. This is the threshold we want to maintain to be able to maximize our energy efficiency. If you drop below 60% and you don't have adrenaline probe up, it's going to be very hard to recover while also utilizing our main core abilities. Now back at our talent tree, at level 68, we have Ballistic Shield. Now I mentioned earlier that you can take Orbital Strike here, but I personally prefer Ballistic Shield. Ballistic Shield has a 3-minute cooldown, deploys a Ballistic Shield that spans 10 meters around you, reducing the damage taken by all allies that remain inside by 20%, lasts 25 seconds. Ballistic Shield is a fantastic raid utility for the team. Next up is Countermeasures. Has a 45-second cooldown. Activates Countermeasures, instantly lowering threat by a moderate amount, purging all movement impairing effects, and increasing your movement speed by 75% for 6 seconds. This is a nice little speed boost, and it is your threat drop. Now on to Cover Pulse. Has a 30-second cooldown. Detonates an emergency charge that knocks all nearby targets back several meters and immobilizes them for 5 seconds. Damage dealt after 2 seconds ends the effect prematurely. I hate when that happens. Only usable in cover. Cover Pulse is grayed out, but now we're in cover, we can activate it. Now I put Covered Escape in the utility section, but it can also be used as a defensive cooldown. Roll forward 18 meters, purging movement impairing effects and landing crouched behind cover. While rolling, your chance to dodge attacks is increased by 100%. That'll lead us to Diversion. It is affected by our alacrity. Reduces the accuracy by 45% and exposes from cover up to 8 enemies within 8 meters for 8 seconds. Cannot be used on operation bosses. A good example of a fight for Diversion would be the first couple fights in Nimduxin, because there's just a lot of adds attacking the group, so being able to diversion them is really nice. So back at our talent tree, you guessed it, level 68 again, but we have the choice to take Hololocate. Hololocate has a 0.50 second activation. Activating this ability marks your current location for 10 meters. When this ability is activated again, if you are within 60 meters of the marked location, you instantly return to the marked location. Hololocate goes on cooldown for 120 seconds when used to return to the marked location. So we'll just drop our Hololocate here. We're gonna run away. And let's pop it again. And we are back. Now, an example of a fight where I could see Hololocate being utilized is Nightmare Tyrants. Before the fight, you can drop down and place your Hololocate by the relic. So say you get the simplification debuff, you can maximize your uptime, and then on demand, boom, you're at the relic. But for the majority of fights, I'm taking Ballistic Shield. I just wanted to mention that you do have this utility in your sniper toolkit. Now we have Leg Shot. It will cost us 12 energy, fires a shot that deals X weapon damage and immobilize the target for 5 seconds. Direct damage dealt after 2 seconds ends the effect prematurely. Not again. Leg Shot is basically our root. Now we're going to be talking about our cooldowns. And of course, the first one we're going to talk about is our Entrench. Entrench has a 1-minute cooldown, entrenches you into cover, becoming immune to all controlling effects and reducing all area effect damage taken by 60 seconds. Only grants protection while in cover, lasts 20 seconds. So if you've ever seen a sniper just sitting in an AoE, taking in all the damage, but it doesn't look like they're taking a lot of damage, this is why. Entrench is grayed out because we're not in cover. We're going to enter cover, and then we are going to entrench. And this right here at the top, that is the visual indicator that we have Entrench up. Now we can leave cover, and we can go back into cover with Entrench for a total of 20 seconds. Now I mentioned our countermeasures, but in our talent tree at level 27, we have Evasive Maneuvers. Countermeasures grants evasive maneuvers, increasing your chance to dodge melee and ranged attacks by 200% and reducing the damage you take from force and tech attacks by 75% for 3 seconds. Additionally, activating countermeasures resets the cooldown of Covered Escape. Now this I will cover in more detail in Chapter 3, Ability Interactions. Another cooldown I will go over more in Ability Interactions is our Meticulous Preparation, has a 3-minute cooldown. Immediately finishes the active cooldown on countermeasures, shield probe, cover pulse, and entrench. Next is shield probe. Has a cooldown of 30 seconds. Summons a probe droid that projects a shield around you for up to 10 seconds, absorbing X damage. Now at level 15, we get a passive that goes with shield probe. Toxic Regulators. At the end of our Toxic Regulator tooltip, you'll notice damage reduction is increased by 15% for 6 seconds after shield probe ends. So we have our shield probe up. I'm going to click it off. It ends. And there's our Toxic Regulators. Damage reduction increased. Another cooldown I want to touch on is at level 51, we can take ballistic dampers. Entering cover grants 3 charges of ballistic dampers. Each charge absorbs 30% of the damage dealt by an incoming attack. This effect cannot occur more than once every 1.5 seconds. Ballistic dampers can only be gained once every 6 seconds. So when we pop into cover, ballistic dampers. The Virulent Sniper Explosive Fuel. Viral Targeting. Viral Targeting's cooldown will be affected by your alacrity. Increases the critical hit chance of your next caller takedown by 100%. When Viral Targeting is utilized, it grants integrated toxins for 10 seconds, causing your poison effects to automatically critically hit. Kaboom. Now the last cooldown I'm going to go over is an ability we can take at level 43. Target Acquired. Target Acquired will also be affected by your alacrity. Target Acquired increases range and tech accuracy by 30% and armor penetration by 15% for 10 seconds, and immediately restores 15 energy. In addition, Target Acquired resets the cooldown of Viral Targeting. Back-to-back explosive fuels. Now because I'm running a higher alacrity on my sniper, I am using the Critical Adrenal. And on use, this increases critical rating by 1005 for 15 seconds. And then of course, the med pack. You hit it, you heal, easy peasy. Welcome to Chapter 3, Ability Interactions. Now previously, in the last chapter, I mentioned I would go over Covered Escape and Meticulous Preparation. At level 27, I mentioned our evasive maneuvers that can allow us to reset our Covered Escape. But to add on top of that, at level 73, we get a passive called Corrosive Mine. And this is the text I want to highlight here. When you activate Covered Escape, you detonate a corrosive mine that deals X internal damage to all nearby enemies over the duration. Now this is not one of our massive damage dealers, but I do believe this is something that you should know about. So with evasive maneuvers selected, we will do our Covered Escape. You'll notice our corrosive mine left behind, and then when we activate our countermeasure again, it'll reset Covered Escape. Now onto our Meticulous Preparation interaction. If you remember, this ability will finish the cooldown of our countermeasures, shield probe, cover pulse, and entrench. So if I enter cover, if I hit entrench, our countermeasures, our shield probe, and our cover pulse will activate Meticulous Preparation, and they are all back. Now this is something you can definitely chain. By rolling, you can countermeasures, you can roll again, activate your Meticulous Preparation, hit your countermeasures, roll again. Now because I'm using a Mastery Relic and a Critical Relic, from time to time we will see these proc. Here's our Mastery proc, there is our Critical proc. Now normally in my talent tree, I take Shatter Snipe. The critical hit damage of Snipe and Lethal Shot is increased by 20%. Dealing damage to a target with Sniper Lethal Shot inflicts trauma for 10 seconds, reducing all healing the target receives. Now for most general content, that last bit of text won't apply to us. The main reason we want to take this is for the 20% increased crit damage. So when I Lethal Shot here, you will see the trauma debuff. And if you remember, this is our Exploited Weakness Tactical, allowing Lethal Shot to leave a dot. So if you find yourself thinking, Cooosh, for the love of God, please just talk about damage. Well, here we go. So what we've learned so far is Lethal Shot is a dot with our Tactical, Corrosive Grenade is a dot, Corrosive Dart is a dot, and Weakening Blast will have the target take extra weapon damage when it is affected by our poison. And then we have Call, where every time it ticks, it'll trigger our poison abilities. Now please forgive me for what I'm about to do, but the truth is, I'm doing this so you can see it, and so you don't have to. We're gonna dry Call. Look away if you're squeamish. Now that didn't look like a ton of damage. And you're right. But real quick, before we get into more damage, I need to talk about our Lethal Takedown. At our talent tree, at level 60, we get a passive Lethal Takedown. Damage dealt by Call has an 80% chance to trigger Lethal Takedown, which finishes the cooldown of Takedown and makes your next takedown usable on a target with any health level and costs 3 less energy. Now I know it says 80% chance. In all my years of playing this game, I've probably had it not proc maybe 3 times. That was just a good opportunity for me to get Lethal Takedown out of the way, so back to it. So how these interactions are going to work is Lethal Shot will dot the target, Corrosive Grenade will dot the target. Corrosive Dart will dot the target. And then our Weakening Blast, poison damage causes additional weapon damage. And then when that's on the target, if we call, kaboom! It'll tick all our dots for a massive amount of damage. So let's see this all together. We're going to Lethal Shot. We're going to Dart. We're going to Grenade. We're going to Weakening Blast. And then we're going to call. It all ticks. And then you'll notice when we called, we procced Lethal Takedown. So you may have noticed when we Corrosive Grenaded the target, we had 2 debuffs. That is our Grenade debuff, and then we also have a debuff that makes the target assailable. And that comes from a passive at level 43, Corrosive Microbes. Corrosive Dart and Corrosive Grenade have a 10% chance to deal their damage twice whenever they harm a target. In addition, Corrosive Grenade makes its target assailable for 45 seconds. Assailable targets take 7% more elemental and internal damage. So let's see this again. Lethal Shot, Corrosive Dart, Corrosive Grenade, Weakening Blast, and then Call. You'll notice here is our Weakening Blast debuff, and then we also had our Lethal Takedown trigger. Now you'll notice here when our dots fall off, they turn gray. This is another passive. At level 51, we have the passive Decay. Increases the damage dealt by Snipe, Lethal Shot, Cull, and Corrosive Grenade by 3%, and reduces the energy cost of series of shots by 1 per second. Additionally, when Corrosive Grenade and Corrosive Dart end, they are replaced by a lingering version for 5 seconds that will only deal damage when Cull deals damage. Now normally, when we have our Dart and our Grenade on the target, they will periodically deal damage. You'll notice when they fall off, they will not tick their damage. And we can see that here. 5 seconds, no damage. So again, we have our dots on the target, they tick periodically, and then Call will make them go kaboom. Now, like previously stated, they will not tick when they're gray, but Call will tick them. As we can see here, both are gray, they still tick. So I hope you're starting to realize all these interactions we have with our dots and abilities that will buff our dots and then abilities that will explode our dots. Now I mentioned the explosive fuel for VIRU snipers, our viral targeting. And just in case if you forgot, it'll let our call be 100% crit, but the most important aspect is when viral targeting is utilized, it grants integrated toxins for 10 seconds, causing your poison effects to automatically critically hit. Let's see this. So there's our Lethal Shot. We're going to apply our Dart, our Grenade. We're going to do our Weakening Blast. Viral targeting. There's our integrated toxins buff. And then let's call. Everything crits! Oh. And if you remember, Lethal Shot does additional poison damage besides the dot that it applies. So, if we are under integrated toxins, you want to try to maximize your Lethal Shot spam. I will obviously cover more of this in the rotation, but it is an important ability interaction between integrated toxins and Lethal Shot. So I'm going to do a Lethal Shot. We're going to Dart. We're going to get our Grenade, our Weakening Blast. Let's hit our viral targeting, and then we can Cull. And now, we still have integrated toxins up, our Call is on cooldown, so we'll spam Lethal Shots. But if you remember, we also have Target Acquired. That'll reset the cooldown of viral targeting. So we can have a kaboom Call, then we can Target Acquired, and then our next call, kaboom. I'm offsite now for this next ability interaction. Corrosive Grenade is an AoE, meaning that every target that gets hit by it will get Corrosive Grenade. Corrosive Dart is only single target, meaning I have to apply it individually. In our talent tree, we get a passive at level 23, Corrosive Dispersion. Corrosive Grenade spreads your Corrosive Dart to the targets it damages, as long as it damages at least one target already affected by your Corrosive Dart. So we're going to dart this target, they're the only one with it. And then let's throw our Corrosive Grenade. Now every enemy that was tagged will also have the Corrosive Dart debuff. And yes, we survived. Offside again for our next ability interaction. A passive we receive at level 68 is Devouring Microbes. Increase the damage dealt by poison effects by 50% on targets below 30% of max health. In addition, if a target dies with Weakening Blast, it finishes the cooldown of Weakening Blast. In most raid situations, this doesn't really come into play, but it's something that you should know. Weakening Blast. Now you'll notice here, Weakening Blast doesn't have to deliver the killing blow, as long as you have Weakening Blast on the target. Weakening Blast. Weakening Blast. Weakening Blast. Weakening Blast. Weakening Blast. I hope you get the point. Our last ability interaction I want to talk about is level 64. We can select Vital Regulators. While in cover, you heal for 3% of your total health every 2 seconds. So the interaction here, we are in cover and we heal. Easy peasy. Well, here we are at Chapter 4, our talent tree. So kind of like my Pyro guide, I went over what I thought was the absolute most important, but I do recommend going through and reading over all the tooltips for yourself, just in case I overlooked something. At level 15, we are granted our Viral Targeting and our Corrosive Grenade. For level 23, I always take the middle one, Critical Grenade. For 27, I mostly run Shatter Snipe because of the 20% crit increase, but if you do need the additional cooldown, Evasive Maneuvers would be your option. Level 35, we are granted Coal. For level 39, I always take Corrosive Targeting. For 43, I always take Target Acquired. It's just really nice being able to reset your Viral Targeting, as well as get a little energy boost. At 47, we are granted Weakening Blast. At 51, like I said previously, we get our Ballistic Dampers. Another option is Pillbox Sniper. Now, the main reason for Pillbox Sniper, in my opinion, is this first block of text. Reduces the cooldown of Entrench by 15 seconds. At level 60, we're granted our Lethal Shot. At 64, we have our Vital Regulators. At level 68, we have a whole bundle of choices, but for the most part, I'm running Ballistic Shield. Level 73, I mainly take Seek Cover. When Entrench ends, or you leave cover while Entrench is active, you gain Seek Cover, which increases your movement speed by 50% and grants immunity to movement impairing effects. This lasts 6 seconds. Another option is Augmented Shields. Increases the amount of damage absorbed by Shield Probe by 30%. In addition, when taking damage while Entrench is active, the cooldown on Meticulous Preparation is reduced by 2 seconds. This effect can only occur once every 3 seconds. But if I'm being honest, 99.9% of the time, what you're looking at right here is what I'm taking. The really cool thing about Sniper is it basically has a tool for every fight. Well, here we are. The moment we've all been waiting for, the opener. So first things first, you want to make sure you're in cover. Now, during our ability interaction chapter, you've probably got a good understanding of what our opener is going to be. So what we're going to do first is we are going to Lethal Shot. We are going to Corrosive Dart. We are going to Corrosive Grenade. And we are going to Weakening Blast. Right before we hit our call, we're going to want to hit Viral Targeting, and our Adrenal, and Target Acquired. After we do our call, because we'll be under Integrated Toxins and Weakening Blast will be on the target, we want to do 4 lethal shots before our next call. Then, on our second call, we can hit Viral Targeting. We will have another charge of Viral Targeting because we activated Target Acquired. And for the sake of keeping things simple, I'm going to stop the opener there on that second call. So let's see this nice and slow. We're going to Lethal Shot, Dart, Grenade, Weakening Blast, Viral Targeting, Target Acquired, Adrenal, and then call. Then we're going to do 4 lethal shots. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then Viral Targeting into our second call. Let's do it again together, nice and slow. So Lethal Shot, Corrosive Dart, Corrosive Grenade, Weakening Blast, Viral Targeting, Target Acquired, Adrenal, and then call. 4 lethal shots. Viral Targeting into our second call. So what you're seeing on the screen is everything we've done up until this point. A good way to look at what we're doing here is 4 GCDs and then call. 4 GCDs and then call. Or in other words, blocks. So what we've done so far is block 1 and block 2. 4 GCDs, call. 1 block. 4 GCDs, call. 2nd block. Now one thing to note and remember here, our dots are going to go gray on our 3rd call. But that's okay because we remember, even though our dots are gray, they will still tick under call. And we are still going to be under integrated toxins. So for our 3rd block, we're going to do 3 lethal shots into Weakening Blast and then our call. You will always want to use Weakening Blast, the GCD before call. Alrighty, let's go up until that 3rd call, nice and slow. So lethal shot, corrosive dart, grenade, Weakening Blast, viral, acquired, adrenal call. 4 lethal shots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Viral into call. 3 lethal shots. Then we're going to Weakening Blast into call. And yep, our dots are going to go gray here, but we remembered that they will still tick under call. I'm going to go up until our 3rd call again, but this time I'm going to already have the abilities up and I am not going to say a word. So hopefully we're feeling good up until that point. So after our 3rd call, our dots are going to be gray or falling off totally. So what we want to do is after that call ends is reapply our corrosive dart and our corrosive grenade. After those 2 GCDs, we will do 2 lethal shots into call. So let's do it. Lethal shot, dart, grenade, Weakening Blast, 3 fun buttons into call, 4 lethal shots, viral into call. And this next block, we're going to do 3 lethal shots, Weakening Blast into call. And then our dots are going to go gray here. So as soon as this call ends, we're going to reapply our dots. And 2 lethal shots. 1 and 2. And you know what? We'll do another call. So on the screen is everything we've seen up until this point. We have our opener with block 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to take you through block 5. So after that call, we are going to lethal shot, takedown, lethal shot, Weakening Blast, and then call. Let's see it all. Lethal shot, dart, grenade, Weakening Blast, 3 fun buttons into call. Now we have 4 lethal shots, viral into call. On this block, we have 3 lethal shots. After the 3rd Weakening Blast is off cooldown, we'll hit that into call. Our dots are going to go gray, so we're going to reapply them. Then we have 2 lethal shots into call. And then as soon as this call ends, we're going to lethal shot into a takedown, lethal shot, Weakening Blast into call. So now again with all of our abilities up, and I'm going to go full speed. Now to see everything in a quick boss example, and you guessed it, Nephra.
In blood. fear you, only us.
Send in reinforcements!
Predator.
Alright, don't panic now. I know there's a lot on the screen. So this is the top parse on Parsley right now, and I'm going to be honest with you, I've scoured through these parses, and they're all different, except for like the first 5 blocks that I walk you through. Those are consistent, so I trust that. At the opener, we have Lethal Shot, Corrosive Dart, Corrosive Grenade, Weakening Blast with our fun buttons into Cull. Then we have 4 lethal shots, Cull, into our second viral targeting. Then we have 3 lethal shots, Weakening Blast, Cull. Our dots went gray here, so we're reapplying them. 2 lethal shots, Cull, and then lethal shot, takedown, lethal shot, Weakening Blast, Cull. I wanted to show some sort of rotation. That's why I'm showing this, because also when I'm learning, I like to look at the big picture. I just think it's very important to know the rules. And that is, for GCDs and then Cull, you always Weakening Blast the GCD before Cull. So in that 4th spot window before the Cull, always Weakening Blast. Every Weakening Blast you see in this rotation is right before a Cull. For takedown, ideally to maximize how your poison ticks and how our abilities work is you want a lethal shot, takedown, lethal shot. So by doing lethal shot, takedown, lethal shot, you get an extra tick of the lethal shot dot that comes from the tactical. If you are under viral targeting, therefore, integrated toxins do not take down in those windows. And every time we see a viral targeting pop, it is all these lethal shots. If there's one thing you take away from here, keep the first 5 blocks, but then afterwards, just reapply your dots when you need, but never delay a Cull, and always do Weakening Blast right before Cull, and always try to maximize lethal shots under viral targeting. I promise you, if you keep to those, the spec will take you places. Welcome to Chapter 6, Final Thoughts. Now, I usually just hold this chapter so I can rant and ramble and just get all the thoughts out of my head, but I'm going to keep this one very simple. In my opinion, Sniper is currently the best ranged DPS spec in the game, and it's a lot of fun. You have an incredible toolkit at your disposal. If you're in the middle of raid and everything's gone to hell, remember to stay calm. Just repeat after me. 4 GCDs, Cull. 4 GCDs, Cull. Well, that's the guide. I hope I was able to get you started on your Virulence journey. VIRU has great damage and good raid utility, and is also my favorite ranged DPS spec. I wanted to give a special thanks to Scooby for all the work he did helping me behind the scenes. I asked if he had any advice for future VIRU players out there, and he did not disappoint. I will now close with his advice.
Never dry cull.